Our next conversation is going to be about what's happening. So we expect that the National Assembly Committee on Appointments will be presenting its report to the National Assembly today with regards to all those 20 cabinet nominees that they interviewed over the weekend. There's already news that maybe the committee has approved all of them. So would it be a good thing or would it be a bad thing? Are people happy with the process of that entire vetting? Okay, are people feeling that the country and the leadership of the country is now responding to what Kenyans really have been saying when they say that we are the sovereign and we feel that we want more accountability, we want a more responsive government? Are they feeling that? These and more, what we'll be discussing now with Herman Manyora, political analyst, who's in the studio. Herman, good morning.
Morning, Shulad.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me. But more so, let me say thank you and kudos for a good interview. The one you had with His Excellency the President.
Asante.
William, it was well conducted. And on behalf of Kenyans, I must thank you. It's a good interview.
Kabisa.
You can pass the same to your colleagues, Joage and
Linus.
The Maasai boy. It was a wonderful.
Linus will get the message.
Why are we not thanking the president for having made it possible?
Yeah, of course, that goes without saying.
Yes. It's true.
Yeah, the
Credit
moment
to
I
him
say,
as well.
The moment I say His Excellency,
Yes.
it means I am.
Herman, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
And it's good to always see you, and in your age, and you're looking good.
Yeah. I thank God for every inch of life. Yeah.
City.
Yes.
Patia mzee. The proverb.
The proverb we have is from the Republic of Botswana. But I'm going to mention a second proverb because there was a request for it. Okay, a Maragoli proverb.
Okay.
So let me...
From Ngutia.
Yes.
Radio France International.
Yes. Now, this is the proverb that we have for this particular day from the Republic of Botswana. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Let's hear that one first.
Don't laugh
at the fallen,
yes,
for the slippery path is still ahead. That is today's proverb. Yes.
My friend who sent was called Ingati.
Okay, now, Ingati, for you,
yes,
this is a Maragoli proverb.
Yes.
Okay? He who does not see his mother in her youth may think his father threw away the cows.
But is that telepath or what? That's the one I had in mind when he said. What is all this?
What do you mean?
Honest to God, I'm not lying. That's the one I had in mind. What? Utala nyina mbuka na dada yako zingombe. That's how Maragoli. Because you didn't see your mother when she was young, you think your father just threw. What is this? Aliwa kitu gani? Ngombe alitupa tu. Thank you. And the other one?
That is the Maragoli proverb.
Yeah, which is true.
Yes.
It's a very popular Maragoli.
But just so that you understand, I did a little work on it. Let me tell you a second one, just for consumption. The one with many uncles slept hungry.
The one with many uncles slept hungry.
This one I read, but I didn't understand it.
I can tell you.
Yes.
You know, normally, when there is hunger, people, they go to Suma, Kusuma. That's how the name Kisumu
came into being.
Kusuma is you go to your relatives. They may admonish you for being a lazy farmer.
Yes.
But you won't live there empty-handed.
They'll give you food.
So you come with food. So now, if you have many, it may lead into thinking every season.
You don't have to work.
So when you go there now, you... because of that laziness.
So the one with many uncles slept hungry.
Yes,
because the uncles came visiting.
You know, you take it for granted.
You take it that you'll be going to them. So you don't...
So inafika mahali wanasema baba inatosha.
Wanaambiana.
Yes.
Wanaambia ukimwona huyu ametokea wachana na yeye. He doesn't want to be... Ignore him. Then you come back and sleep hungry. Yeah.
Okay. So don't be lazy.
No, don't. Be industrious.
Be industrious. Don't think about
Stand
your
for
uncles.
yourself. Correct.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Now, hoping God is happy.
I am hoping you will tell us. I hope he has heard, and I hope he's happy. His message was received.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So, Herman.
Yes.
Since this protest began, we haven't had a conversation with you here.
Yeah.
So we want to start from that point.
You're unfair to me.
We invited you, but I think you're very busy.
We will not mention where you went, but you were busy.
I was busy. Okay.
Yeah?
You are right.
So, what do you make of these protests from the beginning to where they have reached to tomorrow's planned protest?
The Gen Z process.
Mm-hmm.
My position and my understanding is very clear that this is a revolution. First, as a country, we must know things are not going to be the same anymore. But we should also have the benefit of what has happened elsewhere, most recently being Bangladesh, to inform our future action and even, in fact, current action. But more and more seriously, we must know this is a global trend. This is a global trend. The world is going to change. Those who change with the world will benefit. Those who try to resist will be swept off their feet. So my understanding is that the Gen Zs are just doing what I saw during the rounds on WhatsApp and other places. Some Zungu man is saying there is a powerful force of nature sweeping across the world. A very powerful force of nature. Then we are waiting to hear what it is. Then he says it is youth. It's across the world. You saw it has even informed American policy and action on Israel. Right? America has not been as proactive in their support for Israel in the recent days as it was traditionally. You remember there were many campus riots. Young people telling America, no. You can't support Israel to massacre innocent people in Hamas. These young people on American campuses. They are American children of all races.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So this powerful force is now manifest in our country. And the best we can do for ourselves is to listen to the young people. Because they are our children. Listen to them. Correct them where they are wrong. Tell them running a government is not a cup of tea. You see, but before you tell them that, they must know you have listened. And how do they know you have listened? By doing certain things that are obvious, that will cost you nothing. You get it?
Such
the
as?
the so-called low-hanging fruits. Such as just constituting a good cabinet. Such as stopping the opulence going on in the country. Such as denying your friends access to money which they show off. Simple things. Those things, they don't cost you anything. Before you go to things that can cost the government money, just do those things that will cost you nothing. Just some courage. The courage to tell your friend, "Ai hapa kimeumana. You just go home, we can do other businesses with you. Take some time, go to Angola, start ranching, I'll support you." But a cabinet minister, hapa kimeumana, you can't be a minister. No. You know that you require some little courage. Because some people are facing serious challenges. So if you find a prime minister or a president, if you look at the demands placed on them, you can understand why they take time to act. But for us, many of the things these people are talking are just common sense things. And I've not even come across anything, any demand on the president that will call for him to go at home and think through the night. I've not seen. These simple things.
To us, it may seem simple, but let me just invest this slightly and ask, what is it that is within the genetic makeup of Kenyan political leadership that, to begin with, gets them to the point where they are doing what they are doing and doing so with impunity and repeatedly? And we've seen it successively. That very thing that allows them to think that they can get away with everything that they have been doing and that it can be rectified by a few words, by a few token activities. And when an opportunity for real change comes about, you see a repeat of the same tokenism. What is it in our makeup that makes these people think that this is how they can go about the business?
No, it's not in our genetic makeup.
I was very careful when I said the political class.
Yeah, political class, the
leadership.
genetic
Yes.
makeup.
Yes.
I understand you.
Yes.
And I want to tell you it's nothing, it's not something difficult to understand. It's just our history. When we got independence, most of us in Africa and some other places like us, we didn't understand what independence was. We didn't understand what it meant to be a president of a country. And those who are living took advantage of our ignorance and our stupidity and our greed. And then led us, encouraged us on the path of grabbing, primitive accumulation and recklessness with power. That's how impunity started. And it has grown over the years. And it led to the many coups in the 60s and 70s. So that's it. It's not easy to live. I'm looking for a better English word. It's not easy to depart from bad habits. What our politicians are exhibiting is bad manners, bad habits that have accumulated over the years. So you become president and you think you are a god. You see, and you can't. It's not Ruto, it's not Uhuru, it's not Kenyatta. All of them in Africa. They haven't quite understood his service. So we need to re-engineer our politics to make those who get into power know that they get to power to serve, not to accumulate wealth, and not to load it over others.
Herman, think of it. Let's think. People, there are those who argue, those who studied psychology and other human behavioral sciences tell you that the language we speak very much influences our behavior.
Correct.
Now, what is the word in our vernacular for leader?
For leader.
Leader. Because I'm thinking of it in my...
Your language. What do you share with us? With
king,
which is a king.
Yes.
But that's part of the problem. And in some, but you see, like in our case,
ruler essentially is a ruler.
If you read Jomo Kenyatta's Facing Mount Kenya, he says the Kikuyu never had a king; they had leadership by consensus.
Yes.
So you cannot use that to explain Kenyatta's transgressions and excesses.
Was Ruoth not a chair of a council?
No. Ruoth, if you look at it, was actually a chief, not the village elder.
A chief.
The village elder was Ker. Okay? It is the chief because a colonial chief wielded so much power.
Colonial, not African chief.
No, colonial. Yes. They were African, but in the colonial, they wielded so much power.
Correct.
They had an act that enabled them to do anything, and the godlike facilities.
And
that,
they were being,
that, yes.
You see, they were encouraged by the British system of rule.
Yes.
Because then you pump a few people, give them excess power so that they can allow you.
They can dominate their own people on your behalf.
Yeah.
If you are looking
So
for
before the colonizer, what was that structure of leadership?
Oh, the structure of leadership was very democratic among the community I come from. If you find, for instance, women from my community, the Luo community, vocal, it is because community meetings and gatherings allowed women not only to attend but also speak.
to speak.
Everyone was allowed to speak. So everybody had a voice. And you actually allowed to simply sit and speak, and then you ask, are you through? Then you go to the next one. And again, the leadership had to do with your own personal achievement and prowess.
Yeah.
You had to have a track
You have
record.
something.
Yes, you had to have a track record. And when you're a leader in the community, the reason why people came to you was because not only people argue, but why did people give you things? Well, you sorted out issues. You are the person people came to solve issues. It was too much for you. Then there were other people like you who would gather together and to listen to these issues. But you are somebody who had proven that you had the hearts of the community just beyond your
And there
immediate
was,
family.
in many of these traditional societies, if you look at the structure of governance, there was very little room for dictatorship.
Yes.
Because if you do some simple analysis and study, you'll find many of the decisions were never made by an individual,
No,
however powerful.
they never were.
Even in societies which worshipped somebody like the Rainmaker or the Laibon,
Yes.
there still was always a council that worked with him. And there are certain decisions where you can, if you read in traditional literature, folklore, they lock themselves in a room, pretty much like they're waiting for the smoke during to make a decision. So that tells you it wasn't a one-man decision.
It wasn't.
So that's why I'm going back to where I said our African leaders were actually made to think they were gods. Even it begins with a choice, and these Africans must know. The people who actually became our first presidents were not the people who ought to have been presidents. It's not even Mandela who should have been the president of South Africa, the first black president. There were people like Steve Biko, of black consciousness, people who really wanted change for the African person. The Mandelas of this world, as much as we think they are gods, They were worked on, prepared. You remember he was even isolated from the other inmates and put in a special place to be prepared to become president. The same with Kenyatta. The same with all these others. In other words, they they jumped the queue. So you can imagine a Kenya with people like that and Kimagdi and other riffraffs taking over. So you clear those ones and prepare the mission boys to take over. These were mission boys, and we have to be honest with ourselves. If we are going to change Africa, we have to go back to see how come these individuals have allowed foreigners to exploit their countries and the continent, so that we live in abject poverty and we sit on all the minerals. I understand the minerals in this country. We are not a mineral-rich country.
We are.
No, I'm saying we are not. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I understand.
Yes.
Even with the little we have, if we start to exploit our minerals sensibly, not by giving some mzungu so that he pays some fee, 20 million shillings, and then, no, we exploit like with them together. They have the technology, they have the capital. Then we share in a reasonable way. We can pay our debts in just a year or two and never borrow again. So how come our leaders never allowed this to happen? They were wrongly chosen. They were the wrong people to start leading Africa. They were prepared. They were trained in Europe, you see, and made to see the world in a certain way. And they can't depart from that world.
You're saying that's why it's difficult for them to hear their people?
Yeah.
So when the people come
meant
out
to hear their people.
and the people come out
They are
and say,
not
we'd like change, they don't hear it.
No, they don't hear. They were not meant to listen to the people. First of all, education itself is alienating. You can't get a Maasai boy, educate him, then you expect him to go back to the Manyata. He comes to say Lavington. So, the Western education itself, it serves them well. It never gets a British child goes through education. That education prepares him or her to be a British citizen. Okay? To mingle with fellow citizens. But ours prepares us to
dominate.
To run away from our people.
Yeah.
And whenever we get an opportunity of leadership, to dominate them on behalf of the colonizers and the former colonizers. So you cannot blame this arrangement unless you go to the history and dismantle it. And I'm wanting to believe, CT and Eric, I'm wanting to believe that this revolution could just do that, could do just that.
You think it?
To demolish the infrastructure put in place by the Mzungu to help the African lord over fellow Africans. And if you know I'm right, look at the 1960s and early 70s. The preoccupation of the president was to protect his presidency. All state resources were put at his disposal to protect his presidency. All his enemies were created for him by the CIA. All the professors who were being detained had nothing. I laughed when one of them, Mkaronganga, came up now that you can now speak. So you want to run for president. Remember that day, is it Kivuitu or somebody was allocating, you hand in your certificate, your application, they go through, City Muga, you are now a candidate. You are allocated City Stadium. Another one, yeah, you remember that time? Mukaru Nganga was allocated City Stadium. There was nobody there. There are a few dogs moving there. But yet we have been made to believe these guys could take the government any minute. So these were artificial enemies created. You get it?
You say that you see this Gen Z, and you're calling it the Gen Z revolution, it's actually going to change things.
Correct.
How do you see that doing it?
You see, a revolution marks a departure, sometimes a radical departure from the past. This is going to be something like that. A departure, and usually it is the way we view the world. So the revolution is mainly in the mind. So those who are sending policemen to beat up our boys break up the demonstrations, clobber the boys, tear gas them, and even kill them, they are wasting their time. Because you cannot get the soul of a revolution using a baton or a gun. No, you cannot get. The soul of the revolution is not physical. So you can kill people in the streets of Nairobi or wherever it is. But since you can't kill the idea itself, the soul of the revolution, it will soldier on. It happened in Bangladesh, I think, recently. They killed I don't know how many people. But finally, the Prime Minister had to call it a day and run away to, I don't know, India, wherever it is. It's very unfortunate, like C.T. Muga says. I think that's why C.T. was gay. What is it that makes people not see very obvious things? You know, it's so annoying. It's so annoying that we can't see very obvious things. Who didn't see this finance bill was going to run into trouble? I mean, you think some people can make you feel relative like you're a genius. Have you ever gotten to feel like that sometimes? First you get so annoyed, then you step back and say, oh, or maybe I'm the only one seeing this. But it's not true.
Maybe
You
I'm
are
the clever one.
It's not true.
No, it's
it
not.
is.
Can
it is
they?
just-
Do you
it's just-
think they can see it?
they can?
Do you think they can see it, but they ignore it? Or do you think they actually could not see, for example,
I think
that the
it's
finance bill
complex.
was wrong?
I think it is complex. One, power itself is very difficult. It destroys you. Muga, since he's a man of literature, he will tell you of the Greeks. There's something I can't remember where there is a person following the king, always to remind him by whispering to him, "You are not a god."
It is the Caesars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you are not a god. Oh, the Romans. Yes, the Romans. Yeah.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
was
Yes.
and it was a slave,
Yes.
somebody who knew they had to do what they were told.
Yes. To remind you all the time.
Constantly.
Yes, and especially when you're coming into Rome after triumphant victory, you've
Yeah,
conquered,
he had to be there with you.
and you are going into this, and the crowd is cheering.
Yes.
The person right there telling you,
You're not a god.
You are not a god.
you are but a man.
You are but a man.
You are but a man. Yani,
That is hiyo ndio kazi
hiyo ndio
yake.
kazi yake, na najua anaweza kuuawa.
Anakuambia tu ujue mzee, wewe ni binadamu, si Mungu. So it also has a genesis in the Greek whatever mythologies. The idea is power can make you blind to what everybody sees, including children. But again, we live in very difficult times, CT and Eric. We are people out there to control the world, the so-called globalists. We have global institutions like the IMF and the World Bank with the idea of what the world ought to be. And they are making it very difficult for even a genuine third world leader to do their job. So sometimes we want to blame these people, but they are under spell, they are under capture, they are under direction. But my argument has always been, if we could get a few courageous leaders in Africa, now we have about 3 or 4. You know, those guys from Senegal, the Cote d'Ivoire, the others are where? Niger, Mali. If a few from the English-speaking Anglophone Africa, like another 3 or 4 or 5, went in that direction, these globalists will have a problem dealing with such a big number. And then the trend will start where we can stand on our own and say, go to hell. I can imagine a president telling the French ambassador, leave. 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 Just leave. Pack and go. People thought that was crazy, but the guy had to leave. And when he thought it was a crazy president telling him, the crowd was outside to tell him, please leave. So we will get there. And I see this Gen Z as a beginning that will start to put Africa on the path where we will reclaim what is ours, what God gave us. It cannot be that God gives us so much and we sleep hungry almost every day. It cannot be. Nobody can defend that. Why would you defend that? Why would you defend that? It cannot be the case that we are given so much, and amid so much and such a plenty, people are dying of hunger and of very treatable diseases.
You know, Herman, you bring in a very interesting point when you talk of the globalists. Now, every time someone mentions or goes in this direction and takes this discussion, one then is either labeled as a conspiracy theorist or as somebody who's just a wild thinker. But this generation of youthful leaders that we see in Western Africa, they are not the first wave of leaders who have sought to bring about change. There's a guy called Jerry Rawlings, the late.
Sankara around the same time.
Yes, around the same time. Jerry seems to have survived and died when he had more or less retired from politics, okay?
Yes.
But the history that we have in this country, whether you're going to talk about Patrice Lumumba, whether you're going to talk about Nkrumah, whether you just keep listing them.
Magufuli recently.
To my point exactly.
Yes.
Somebody who takes a simple step and says, look, folks, to heshimiane, as we say in Kiswahili, this gold is our gold. You're not going to be shipping it out in this form.
Yes.
You are going to smelt it here. You're going to add value here. Yes. Then we talk and agree on how this thing moves forward. Seems fair.
Yes.
Suddenly the person isn't there. Mm-hmm. When you say there's need for courage and there's need to take that step, there are leaders within East Africa who actually took that step. An example is someone like Paul Kagame.
Yes.
He did something that very people have not done. It was called a francophone country. He changed that
to English.
He said, no. These are the people who sat when our people were being massacred. There's nothing of that sort.
Correct.
So the changes, we've seen snippets of it, but change is like a relay. If there was a marathon relay, that would be it. Where somebody starts and there are people who can pick this up and continue with it. Now I'm going to say something that most people may not particularly favor, but that's why the Communist Party of China has a success story to tell. Because they have succession plans. Yes. One may not like the way they run their business, but that again is you not liking it. But you cannot argue against the success that party has made of their country. Much as you may try, you cannot.
It's true. But you see, there are two ways of changing this continent and these African countries. One is through the normal gradual processes of change. But where gradual and normal doesn't mean what we are doing ourselves. We are not doing it. We are not. So by gradual, I mean the sort of things you'll do so that in a couple of years, Africa has changed.
There's meaningful
without
change.
disturbing things. So the second one is where you disrupt order through the normal violent revolution. But I would even go for the first one, where, say we want to start with our resources. What is so difficult with having a good policy on mining? Which any sensible person. The crooks who come to exploit us will not like those policies. But a serious businessman, a serious mining enterprise
will thrive,
will come and you'll work with them. The crooks will not like. Okay? You go to tea. When I pass through Kericho, sometimes it is raining. Most of the time that place is raining.
In the afternoon it seems to always rain.
But Africans, our Africans, sometimes I want to cry. They are there plucking tea in the rain. And just we think about it. The price of that tea, even as that mama is it is raining and what they are plucking the rainfall now, the price is being determined in London. Can you imagine? Hata ijatoka kwa shamba, yeye anatoa, anachuna majani na bei yake inatengenezwa London. Why can't we even start there? Why can't we even just own these plantations, tea plantations? Why can't we own them? Why can't you process the tea and sell processed tea? Nobody will come and kill you because you are not trying to create an African currency and to unite Africa like Gaddafi. You could invite a lot of trouble. But just saying this tea is ours. You have had enough of this tea. In fact, the leases have expired for most of them. You've heard that story. We will renew the leases, but under different arrangement. Why can't we even just start there? So that this tea benefits this country. Coffee benefits this country.
What does that require?
The narrative that you are a cash crop country. That narrative. And you see how it's being celebrated by guys who sit at Treasury. The so-called economic advisors. These are, I call them houseboys of these economists. oh, how much from coffee, how much from tea. Well, you listen to them and you want to slap them. What are they talking about? Why can't we process that coffee and sell it?
So, Herman, what does it require for us to get there? We require selfless leadership.
There are two ways. One is through a revolution, which means men and women who could not get to power through the so-called democratic processes, through the voting, get to the office by that kind of shake-up. So this one way.
But not just any men and women.
Of course, it has to be a man with a vision, as it has happened in those countries where dictators have taken over and changed societies. Cuba was a slave island. You may hate, Fidel Castro, but he turned a slave island into a country with the highest literacy rate in the world, with the best arrangement for healthcare in the world, and many other firsts, and many other countries. You may even hate it, but Russia.
So first, you need those individuals,
with a vision,
those men and women with a vision,
and to get the power,
who are completely and 100% committed and dedicated to the country
nothing but
and
changing society.
So how they get into power now is a second.
Yeah, second. So
but
the second part is like you see, even Russia, at the close of the First World War, they are fighting barefoot. They can hardly afford boots. And Russia has the harshest winter. Hardly 4 years later, they are superpower. You see what I'm saying? But the other way is the normal democratic processes. And that's why this Gen Z may lead to that. The power that is being generated by this Gen Z could result in a man or a woman in State House who is not from the ordinary men and women we are used to. It's not Raila. It's not Kalonzo. It's not Ruto.
Musalia.
It's not Musalia. It's not any of these guys. Somebody like Eric Latif. The guy say, Eric, we have listened to you. You have ideas. Go to State House and change this country. That could happen in 2027.
Okay.
So anybody who is underrating this Gen Z thing is joking.
Now, the thing is, again, we start with that person.
Yes, that
It is that man or woman who is completely dedicated to the country, who just wants to do the best thing for this country.
Correct.
And the vision is long-term.
Long-term.
They're not coming here to
dreams
do
are long-term.
a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year thing. They don't want to be judged by the next election cycle.
No.
Theirs is a foundation, and somebody else comes and picks up that foundation. A man who goes to bed and continues.
A man who goes to bed when others are dreaming about their girlfriends and things like those and money, he's looking at Kenya 50 years from now, and he can see a Kenya that is better than Dubai. That guy who created Dubai, he had a dream. When he shared it with the people, they thought he was mad.
Yep.
Look at even small things like Morocco, in countries like Morocco. Some of the wonders you see, a guy comes up with an idea and everybody thinks he's joking.
Okay.
That is what we need in this country.
Those ones were lucky. It's guys who are in, the monarchy.
Yes.
And they were at least
just lucky to be.
It was lucky that this person who is aligned to become the next leader is actually also thinking very well. Now, in the case of Kenya, how do we identify those people? Because now the Gen Z, like you're saying, the Gen Z are pushing.
Yes.
And as they push, then there is importance of the emergence and the identification
of a person,
of the leaders, not just one, because then
a couple of people,
the leaders who really mean well for the country.
Correct.
How do we identify
I'll
them?
tell you this. Like with any other revolution, many people will fall by the wayside. There will be, of course, look at people like Raila now, my friend. You see, has already fallen by the wayside. And others like him. After this one, these ones are obviously, everybody can see they have lost it. They are my friends. But I tell them they have lost it.
Imeenda.
They will never come back to the political scene of this country. But miracles happen in politics. Then there will be others who will hang on. I want to call them pretenders. And more heat will be generated. They will be required to make tough decisions, tough choices. That again, you will see them disappear. Let me give you a good example. Kalonzo is left standing when Raila goes to Ruto. But there's pressure on him. When I saw him with Raila and the other day, I said, hey, hii kapresha kama kameanza kuzaa matunda. So, will he withstand the pressure that will be put on him? Him and the rest, Eugene Wamalwa.
By who?
By the system. Systems don't go down just like that.
By his friends in the system or by the citizens?
Systems go down fighting. So the system is fighting. They will fight. They will use their friends. They will use even foreigners. They'll say, wewe hata utaenda America ukiendelea hivi. So that pressure will result in a number of these people. So this revolution will sort out the pretenders and the traitors and the people betraying the cause. As we move to 2027, it is quite possible that the men and women left standing can deliver this country. It's possible. But again, many of these things are bought. You've read about revolutions. They are hijacked. You saw Egypt after such a successful onslaught from the people. You remember that Tahrir Square? Was it Tahrir Square or whatever it was?
Tahrir Square.
But the whole thing was hijacked later on. Because sometimes these revolutions, like what we are saying, they have a problem with two things. One, structure. Two, leadership. So in the absence of the structure, it becomes difficult to even to identify the leadership. So then demagogues take advantage and take over power. Or in the case of, for example, Bangladesh, those people who are protesting, they have not taken over power. It's the military. So those are the hazards.
But they are calling for the person whom they think or they feel should lead.
Eunice.
Yes.
Yes, that would be good. That'd be good. It sometimes it happens. I just hope
But
in
as
Kenya,
a caretaker, the challenge again comes.
Yes.
You have this person as a caretaker.
Yes.
So what happens
After
him? It's the same thing that we saw in Sudan.
Sudan, yeah, correct.
Revolution, get Bashir out, caretaker, then what happens?
Then the military says you are not even doing anything.
Yeah.
Or like in Sudan, military now starts fighting each other.
So it is difficult. That's why I say we should avoid the path of destruction, the violent revolution. We should just remain with what is peaceful change. And that's why I embrace the Gen Zs. They can lead us to peaceful change. Peaceful change. When the Gen Zs say Ruto must go, they don't mean Ruto must leave status. Certainly no. They are not that foolish. They mean let's change our bad ways, our bad manners. Let's put in place policies and measures to see this country realize its potential. Let's have a minister who during his 5-year stay at the ministry can help create 1 million jobs in that ministry. You see, that's what they're asking.
At least you and I, Herman, see it that way, right? Because I also believe that the Ruto must go hashtag and call is not necessarily for Ruto, the person, to leave State House.
Ruto, the bad manners.
It's Rutoism.
The manners of the politician.
And Rutoism is not about Ruto. It's just not about this cabal of leaders at top level.
They are not that naive.
They've got to change. But there are those, Herman, who their message is very clear. William Ruto must cease being the president.
He must physically leave.
You see, they have their rights. They can say what they want. But democracy allows you to say anything, including crazy ones. You see, leaving, it is easy to say. But as we have said here, so what after leaving? So what after leaving? It is easier for us to leave the bad things. What is sad is that because we cannot leave our bad things, then somebody has to live physically. You see, it's very sad that instead of you just giving us a sensible cabinet, you are going to recycle people. You are bringing people that represent the worst of this country and you give them to us. Then you do another thing, then another thing. Then you are just telling us you are not capable of doing the right thing. You cannot change. You cannot leave bad things. Therefore, now Ruto, the man, must physically
go.
leave.
So that's where
the
risk is that.
Yes, that's the risk.
It moves from being Ruto change the way we are governed.
Yes.
Ruto take charge and listen to us and do as the law requires.
Yes.
And then if that doesn't happen, then it goes into you, Ruto, then go.
You go. No, you are not even told. At the time
it's
of
the same
going,
thing that happened in Bangladesh.
At the time of going,
in Bangladesh, it started with, can we change?
Yes, can we change? Simple things.
Can we just change?
Policy on employment. Just simple that favors.
Prime Minister says, come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Or you give token, like you said, token changes. You find a kora
In fact,
hapa.
they're not even changes, they're just activities.
Yeah, small little things here and there. Sungura mjanja.
You know, something came to mind when we're talking about all this, and this is from yesterday. You see, the question I ask is an endearing question in my mind. Okay, is it that when somebody ascends to political leadership, they then get conditioned? Because it's when someone is conditioned that they will keep repeating the same habit, even when it is clear that this habit is not, or unless something in the ecosystem. And in our case, when one knows that there will be no adverse consequences for the decisions they make and the actions they take, then it's like they are encouraged to continue making those decisions.
Well, that's how impunity grows.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, as you say, you are asked to bring about change. Now, there may be qualities that the people whom the president decided to nominate, they may have qualities we do not know. That
How can they hide them that well?
that one I'm not even going to.
They must be too intelligent to be hiding those qualities.
Well, some good qualities stay hidden to the naked eye.
They only come out,
These are jokers.
under fire.
These are jokers.
You see, Herman, why I say that tongue in cheek is this, huh? The manifestation of what we see is actually something that must be studied carefully. How it is, the rot sets in and then it solidifies. So it becomes what people in that particular class call normal. They've normalized it. That it is normal for a third world country like ours
to remain poor and dirty.
And to have people who consider themselves billionaires. They have no industries. They have no commercial activities you can speak of. They don't engage in any farming activities on a scale that can make you wealthy. And yet, that wealth is something that grows within a space of a year. I said, these, and this is what I was saying, these people seem to know something the rest of the country doesn't know. No,
They know. I will tell you what they know.
Yes.
They know we are foolish. They know we are just stupid people. You
They
can't
know
do
or
this.
they think?
They know we are just stupid. They can get away with
So
it.
it's confirmed?
Yeah, I think.
It's confirmed we are stupid.
Pardon?
It's confirmed we are stupid.
I think we are stupid by accepting. How do you even allow such a people? How do you even allow people like this to lead us? How? Look at what was going on in Parliament. Serious people just go and slap those people in Parliament. I'm not advocating for violence. But when the voting was going, I just felt like getting one MP and another and banging their heads, bang! And then I take another. It is so sad, Latif, because we are laughing about something that is very serious. We are talking about the future of this country.
Yes.
And whether we shall have a country called Kenya or not. We are talking about the future of our children and grandchildren. What's going on in the Parliament, that circus, has a bearing on what Kenya is going to be in the next 100 years.
Very direct.
So it's not a laughing matter.
True.
And yet we are just there cheering them on and laughing.
But they know.
And going on Twitter.
They know that we are stupid.
They know we are stupid. Sad.
Sit here. Let's get into the news first, and then we will continue this conversation. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is here for this conversation today. What are we seeing in the country? In the next hour, we talk about the vetting of the cabinet nominees and what we expect to come out of Parliament.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.